How about that? Wow. And Craig, don't get that haircut. On behalf of long-haired people, I like it. That is so incredible. And I was just thinking earlier, okay, it's not on the script, but I have to say it. We need more chefs here. And I think they need to see what's happening on this side of the aisle. This is incredible. The conversations that are taking place at each table. And it's not just, these things tend to be overwhelmingly depressing at times because the problems are so insurmountable, it would seem. And then tonight's, and Tanzi really nailed it with, there's so much hope. There's hope. We've got to do a lot in the meantime, but there's hope. By now, I know that you've enjoyed the meal. This meal has been incredible. And I think it's important to realize that, sharing meals, this is something, that all humans are craving. In the spirit of remembering how fortunate we are to have food on our table, I'd like to recognize some special guests with us tonight. The Marcus Foundation is hosting a table of people dedicated to the fight against hunger in America. They're here specifically to support a powerful new film titled A Place at the Table, which will be released this spring. Could you please stand up? Where are you? Aha. It features past Leadership Award winners Jan Poppendijk, First Lady Michelle Obama, as well as advisory board member Marianne Nessel, along with James Beard Foundation's 2010 Outstanding Chef Award winner Tom Colicchio. One of the directors, Christy Jacobson, is with us tonight. And if you look in the back of your place cards, and I've got one right here, you'll see details on how to learn more about the film. And okay, we know that everybody's plates are already full, and that we're all doing and we're all asked to do so much, but please consider how you might be able to help campaign around this film so that all Americans can truly have a place at the table. Thank you. Now it's with great pleasure to welcome the Foundation's new board chair and one of my best friends and heroes, Emily Luchetti. Is Emily around? There you are. I saw you're not in your chair.
I'm not in my chair. I don't always do what I'm told. Thanks, John. I became chair of the Foundation's Board of Trustees last May, taking the reins from Woody Campbell, who continues to serve as our chair emeritus and give me very great advice. And Woody was a driving force behind our Foundation's commitment to an annual food conference and these leadership awards, which have boldly expanded the Foundation's mission to recognize the past ideas and programs for sustainability, food access, and public health. I'm proud to pick up where he left off. As a career chef, as a pastry chef, these food system issues are also a personal passion of mine, and I think everyone sitting in this room. Woody couldn't be here tonight, but I wanted to acknowledge his vision and his hard work. So thank you, Woody. These awards could not have been realized without another important group of individuals, our Leadership Awards Advisory Board. They identify and select each year's group of award winners, who then in turn become part of the advisory board to elect next year's honorees. I wanted to thank all of them, but in particular, I wish to express our gratitude to the inaugural members of this board who will be leaving this year after 2 years of service. The intent throughout the creation of these awards was to have winners selected by their peers. Having successfully established the program, they now turn over the reins to our first 15 honorees who will lead this initiative into the future. Many of these outgoing board members are here with us tonight. Please stand as I say your name. Rick Bayless, Scott Cullen, Hal Hamilton, Robert Lawrence, Marion Nussel, Gus Schumacher, Debbie Shore, and Arlen Wasserman. Plus, those who could not be with us tonight, Dan Barber, Jessica Harris, Eric Grimm, and Naomi Starkman. So thank you all for your leadership. Now, to help introduce our final honoree, he is the assistant chef and Senior Policy Advisor for Healthy Food Initiatives at the White House, and an ambassador for our First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign. Please welcome Sam Kass.
Thank you so much, Emily. How's everybody? Pretty amazing night, huh? Just spectacular. So as many of you know, the First Lady has dedicated much of her time at the White House to uniting the country around our kids and their health and their nutrition. So I'd like to congratulate all of the honorees tonight for being such an active and having such an impactful role in just that effort and in the effort of changing our food system. So really, it's a great honor to be here. I've had the pleasure recently of participating in two fantastic collaborations with the foundation. Last spring, we announced work together around the Chef Moves to Schools program, which has thousands of chefs matching with thousands of schools across the country. Chefs are helping plant gardens, helping with recipes, making kids excited about fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And so your support, Susan, to the foundation has been incredible. This past September, we launched the Diplomatic Culinary Partnership between the foundation and the State Department. This program establishes an American Chef's Corps from across the country that will help use food as a diplomatic tool, helping to share our diverse culinary knowledge and culture around the world, and has become a formal part of how we understand diplomacy. It was an amazing moment and holds so much potential. The food served at kitchen tables across the country are the crossroads of so many of the most important issues of our time. We face a plethora of complicated questions without simple answers. Our next honoree has been weaving together those questions with answers long before they were part of the mainstream discourse. And he's done it with an eloquence and conviction that has shaped mine and so many others, both in the room and across the country's thinking. He has helped bring the farm closer to the table, and that has contributed to the foundation of so much of the change that you've heard today and that you're seeing all over the country. His famous line, "Eating is an agricultural act," captures so much of what we're working towards in just one sentence. When I first met the celebrated author and poet and farmer Wendell Berry at the White House, I met him down in the First Lady's kitchen garden, and I felt like I was showing him a piece of his own work. It was kind of like I felt like a young basketball player who was meeting Michael Jordan. When I heard that I was having the honor of introducing him tonight, I was so deeply humbled, I don't have words, that I was going to be given this opportunity. But Wendell, I was even more surprised that you were going to show up here in New York City. Because if anybody knows, he rarely leaves his farm. So I'm not sure who convinced him, Tanya. I think I may know who. He lives with his wife, Tanya, on their 125-acre farm, Lane's Landing Farm in Port Royal, Kentucky. They produce almost all the food that they eat. They care for the land, raise a family. Both of their children, one who's here with us tonight, have taken up farming nearby. He truly embodies his ideals in the life that he has led, something that is so rare today. And although Mr. Berry quite famously does not own a computer, it's true, it's hard to imagine, his philosophies, all written by hand, continue to inspire farmers and politicians, scientists and academics alike. On education, he wrote, "Its proper use is to enable citizens to live lives that are economically, politically, socially, and culturally responsible. This cannot be done by gathering or accessing what we now call information, which is to say facts without context and therefore without priority. A proper education enables young people to put their lives in order, which means knowing what things are more important than other things. It means putting first things first." Wendell Berry has spent the last 6 decades educating all of us through his over 50 books of poetry and writing. he's reminded all of us what's truly important. He remains steadfast in his commitment to respecting the natural world and has called for a land use ethic that is shaped by a sense of affection for both land and place. For he has received countless awards, way too many to go into, but including the National Humanities Medal from President Obama not too long ago. There is absolutely nothing I could say that even begins to capture the work of Wendell Berry. But you have left a permanent and indelible mark on the country, and I think all of us in this room, and we are undoubtedly forever in your debt. Please see this video.
Wendell Berry asserted in his 1990 book, What Are People For?, one of more than 50 he has authored over his 60-year career, that if we eat, we are participants in the agricultural food system. As a poet, essayist, and author, Berry is one of the most well-respected voices in America's agrarian movement. As an activist, he has been outspoken in his protest of industrialism at the peril of nature. In 2010, President Barack Obama honored Berry with the National Humanities Medal for his writings and conservation advocacy. Then in April 2012, Berry was chosen to deliver the prestigious Jefferson Lecture.
For humans to have a responsible relationship to the world, they must imagine their places in it. To have a place, to live and belong in a place, to live from a place without destroying it, we must imagine it.
Now entering the 7th decade of his career, Berry shows no signs of slowing down. Along with his wife Tanya, Berry continues to live and farm on the Kentucky land that has been in his family since the 1800s. He says, "Part of the reason for writing all these essays is my struggle never to quit, to never utter those awful words, it's inevitable." Instead, he hopes for a world where every life form has a better, cleaner life.
It gives me great pleasure to give the 2002 James Beard Foundation Leadership Award to Wendell Berry.
Well, this occasion has to remind me of another, in which I asked a lady with whom I am closely associated what I'd ever done to deserve such a woman as she. And she replied, "Nothing." Which was a great moment. Not quite the one I had in mind, but nevertheless, I've always considered the issue of my deserving settled. Actually, my closest allies have always been my family, my father, my brother, my son, and my daughter, and my wife, Tanya. Mary and Tanya are here to see that I'll make it back to Port Royal, which seems to be getting farther away by the hour. But also, I've always had in mind neighbors. A lot of them now dead, men and women, black and white, who have, in one way or another, been intimately the parents of my thoughts. Now, unless one of my fellow honorees wants to volunteer to be older than I am, maybe I'm the one most appropriately to be grateful for this meeting, because I remember that 40 years ago, and 30 years ago, and 20 years ago, and probably 10 years ago, this meeting would not have been imaginable. And for a lot of those years, such a meeting as this would not have been imaginable anywhere. That there could be a gathering of concerned and intelligent people in New York City who understand the issues that we've been talking about, hearing about all day, and be concerned about those issues is a wonderful, wonderful development. And a lot of people who've spoken today have very appropriately cautioned that we haven't gone far enough. And it is a fact that if this meeting were held in the United States Capitol or in the state capitol at Frankfort, Kentucky, nobody would know what we were talking about. So when my dear friend Fred Kirschman called me and told me that I was going to be honored by this foundation, I tried to be very practical about it. And I thought, well, if I get an honor, that'll help my side that needs all the help it can get. But of course, self-interest will raise its head. And I realized that you've honored me by putting me into the company of people I honored, that I honor and depend on, and several even of whom I hold in the greatest affection and esteem. So, of course, I thank you.